It's historic, as George pointed out. We are at a historic place where the French Revolution started. It kind of begs the question, if Marat was a doctor, who would be Marat these days? You know what happened to Marat in the end. He was in his bathtub enjoying life, and then all of a sudden he got stabbed. So think about that before you raise your hand if you want to be Marat. Of course, the story continues, then who would be Napoleon? But then, of course, if you have Napoleon, who would be Wellington? All right, good. I don't dare say more in a French audience. So EMIF, European Medical Information Framework. I'll try to give you a quick overview, quick glance of what we are doing. And very briefly, I will by no means be able to do what Peter just did, but very briefly indicate how we are looking at governance of a broad project like EMIF. So every project needs a vision, and visions have to be lofty and woolly and very ambitious, which we have. So I think we're fine there. But what EMIF really wants to do is what is mentioned at the bottom of the slide. So EMIF really wants to create an environment, an ecosystem for researchers and data owners to find each other. I'm not going to use the phrase matchmaking again. Oops, I did. We're really supporting a flow that starts with data discovery. Where are data sets? Where can I find different data sets as a researcher? Then from there, once I have identified a limited number of data sets, how can I maybe assess these data sets, whether or not they are suitable for my specific research topic, and then go into the next step of the process where I can actually start to communicate also with the data owner to go into a data sharing agreement so that the data can be reused. And that's really the ambition of EMIF. Now, it's an IMI project, and I see that Pierre just stepped out. I guess that's only just because I stepped out during his talk. Oh, okay. I thought it was personal. So it is an IMI project. We are from the fourth call, so IMI 1. At this point in time, we are 58 partners, and I should say, and growing actually. It's a 5-year project. Most of the partners are obviously academic, but a lot of them are also data owners, so they play both a researcher and an academic and a data owner role. We are 10 pharma companies, and we are in our 4th year, so the project runs until the end of 2017. As said, I mean, the intention, the ambition of the project was from the onset to create an ecosystem that is able to deal with multiple data sources, with a wide variety of data types. And I'm happy to say that through the consortium members, we actually have that. I mean, we have a wide range of different data types, ranging from primary care over hospital data, claims data, but also research cohorts and all the way into biobanks, actually. So combined, this represents more than 50 million subjects across more than 7 European countries. And we don't only have this kind of the broad population data sets, but we also have some very deep data sets, like research cohorts, specifically in the domain of Alzheimer research and metabolic disorders. And that's also the reason that we have that is that the project really contains 3, well, interlinked, but also a bit independent topics. So the first topic is the EMIF platform. And with the EMIF platform, we really want to create this ecosystem. So it's creating an environment where, I'm starting to beep. Is this better? I can beat myself. It's creating an environment where we are actually tackling these recurrent issues that you always have when you're dealing with reuse of data. And it's Where can I find the data? How do I gain access to the data? How do I safeguard privacy, legal and ethical issues around reuse of the data? How do I harmonize the data? And then how do I analyze the data? And that's what the platform wants to do. And we want to do this in a way that it's applicable across multiple domains. And therefore, at the same time of launching the work around the platform, we also launched into 2 research projects, one in Alzheimer's disease, a big societal burden, and the other one into obesity, another big societal burden, and then really looking at metabolic consequences of obesity. So, and these 2 research topics want to, through reusing available population data sets, but also research cohort data sets, want to contribute to finding markers, biomarkers for early onset of Alzheimer's disease, which is really important also in the light of new clinical treatments, and also risk factors in the obesity space, so risk factors for people at risk of developing type 2 diabetes or fatty liver disorders and stuff like that. So, and these 3 projects really work in combination. So the solution that we are building really is very similar to what you've heard from Brecht, where with the EHR for CR and the Insight solution. We're really talking about a federated approach. So data stays where it is. Data stays under the control of the data owner, and we create a secure environment through which data users, so the researchers on your right side, can actually find data and reuse data. And the first step is, again, very similar. It starts with creating an extract, anonymizing, pseudonymizing data, creating a separate research data warehouse instance, mapping it to a common ontology, so that researchers remotely can then send queries to the data. The analysis happens locally, and you get aggregated counts back. So it's really the same solution as what was described for EHR for CR and Insights. And in that respect, it's also how we are looking at safeguarding patient privacy and other aspects. Now, we are using 2 slightly different approaches for the population data sets, where we are mapping to an OMOP common data model, which is a data model coming from the Odyssey collaborative in the US. For the research cohorts, primarily the AD research cohorts, we're using a semantic web approach. And I'm not going to go into the details, but I want to just briefly show how it looks like. So the first step is data discovery, finding the data. And to do that, we built this EMF data catalog. It's like the yellow pages of research data, where you can go to. You can log on. It's open for everyone. Just request an account, but everybody can have access. And once you're in, you will actually see a number of communities. So there is an EHR community, and there are research cohort communities. And what you will find within these communities are meta-level descriptions, so descriptions about the data sets. I think we created kind of the mother of all catalogs, really. It's fairly extensive surveys that characterize these data sets, where you can find general information. But what I think is also interesting is that we're going to the next level, which is not just free text or survey entered data and kind of general descriptions of the data, but we are also offering a number of dashboards which are derived from the data directly, and where you can find more detailed information. So that's like more specific constructs about the demographics of the population, the time in the database. So really elements, information that you would need to kind of evaluate, is this data set going to be of interest for my piece of research. So another tool which we are currently developing, and now I'm shifting gears a little bit from the broad population data to the research cohorts, is what is called a subject finder. Might be a bit misleading because we're not really looking at individual patient level. Again, this is again a consolidated, aggregated view. But what you see here is in fact a view over 3 research cohorts. You see the total numbers of subjects, and what we have developed with the AD researchers are a number of filters that they can apply on top of this data, so that if they are looking, for instance, for subjects where MMSE has been done, which would be normal in an AD environment, and where ApoE status is available, you can gradually refine the search, so you can zoom in on those cohorts that would have the information that is of relevance to you. Now, you see we're not sharing any data, we're just sharing global counts of individuals. The next step would then obviously require a kind of a contract, an agreement, because now you're moving from cohort finding and into then subject finding. Now you would move into data reuse, and within EMIF we are reusing another open source tool, which is Transmart, for which we have created an AD research environment where there is security between the different cohorts, and the cohort owners ultimately define who can have access for what specific research topic to that data. Just to give one illustration on the power of EMIF, of course, we can have these types of very deep data sets like represented in the AD cohorts, but because we have access to about 50 million subjects across 7 European countries, it will allow us also, and it allows us actually, to do research at an unprecedented scale. I mean, this is an example of a search for patients with dementia in population in EHR data sets. So, of course, this is not specifically AD, because in those data sets, a hard diagnosis for Alzheimer's disease is very often missing. But still, I mean, these are demented subjects, so you see that we find nearly 200,000 subjects across 6 different data sets. I mean, representing a tremendous amount of patient years. So this is a volume of data that will allow quite powerful research going forward. Now, if you then think about the future and where could this all lead to, I think that gradually we understand really well the clinical data. We are building data sets where we're also looking at omics data, multi-omics even, so and the combination of those two data sets. So within EMIF, we are actually combining the broad and the deep data sets. But going forward, if we really want to go into disease interception, into prevention, we will need other sets of data as well. And then I think we'll have to look at behavioral and social data. And only when we have this full picture, this holistic picture on large populations of subjects, will we be able to really go to patient stratification and go into preventive approaches. Now, that will only happen, of course, if and when there is a very clear participation of the patient, when there is clear frameworks for ethical, legal, and privacy aspects around the use of such data. But it would be a tremendously interesting approach to work with the different stakeholders on creating these types of data sets. Now, just one word really on governance. EMIF has the benefit of coming after a few other projects like EHR4CR, and obviously we are building on top of what EHR4CR has already provided, but we are also developing a code of practice that is following this stepwise interactivity with the data. So we're in fact, we have a first version of the EMIF code of practice that completely describes this process from data discovery over data suitability assessment into data access and data reuse, thereby actually encompassing previous projects and thanking them for their contributions, of course. So if you want to learn more about EMIF, you can go to our website. There is a flyer in your handouts, and I would be happy to take any question during lunch or during breaks. Thank you very much.